Welcome back to Our Issues Milwaukee. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. Our focus this morning has been on the arts. The stage production, Sirens of Song, created by Kevin Ramsey, is showing at the Milwaukee Repertory Theater now through May 29th. If you're a lover of music and or history, well, you'll love this production that does such a great job weaving world events through a century worth of popular music. I'd like to welcome back to the show Mr. Abdul Hamid Royal, the musical director of Sirens of Song, and we're now being joined by the fabulous Maiehsa McQueen, who is one of the stars of the show. Welcome back, and how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Great.
Thank you for being here. This is your Milwaukee rep debut in Sirens of Song. Tell us what it's been like for you to be a part of this world premiere production.
It's been incredible. I've worked with Kevin Ramsey, the co-writer, director, choreographer before. We worked together last summer at in Atlanta at Kenny Leon's True Colors Theater. He directed an original piece there. And I just fell in love with the way that he works. And I knew that we would have sort of a history, a journey, a future of working together. And so doing this piece, it being a world premiere, it celebrating women in the way that it does, the diversity and the talent of the women that I have the pleasure of sharing the stage with has just made it incredible.
Yes, and I have to speak from the experience that I had while seeing Sirens of Song, and like you said, all three of you together, there's something that happens. I mean, not only are you harmonizing to the to the highest degree, but it's just your presence, and really there's a comfort in that thing that's going on, and it's just amazing. And then I'm sitting here seeing you now, and it's kind of like, I really am kind of like starstruck, because I realize the amount of talent that this young lady has, and it's just awesome.
Thank you.
Abdul Hamid, these talented ladies, along with Maiehsa, you mentioned earlier, Amelia Cormack and Batilla Baker. They cover music from 2 world wars, rock and roll, great girl bands, hippies, 60s, Vietnam, disco, and R&B. You don't miss a beat. How do you choose, or how did you go about choosing the songs that would be performed?
So Kevin and Pearl Ramsey, the co-creators, actually decided which songs were going to sort of help move the story along that they wanted to tell, to honor the voices of women, the narrative of women through the voices of these 3 sirens. And so they chose, I think, a really good representation from each decade. You know, when you're trying to do 100 years of music, there's a lot to choose from.
Yeah, you guys begin with the Daughters of Freedom from 1901 and give us everything from Marvin Gaye to Nina Simone and everything in between. So I want to know, Maiehsa, what's your favorite song to perform?
Oh, wow. I would say in the first act, my favorite song to perform is You'll Never Walk Alone, which comes from the musical Carousel, but has been done many times. It's been done by Patti LaBelle. I mean, it's just a great tune that closes the first act. And then I would have to say in the second act, it is Yes We Can by the Pointer Sisters. It's really, really fun.
I even loved when you did the You Don't Own Me. You know, it's just like all these songs that even if you didn't grow up to them, there's somebody in that audience that did. And so it really does, every piece of music touches somebody in that room in some form or fashion. And what's really exciting, if anybody's ever gone to the Milwaukee Rep on numerous occasions, they know there are different theaters. And when you're in the Stackner, it's so up close and personal that you're almost on stage with the performers. So what's it like for you to be like eye to eye?
Close?
Yes.
You know, it's interesting because even though it's a cabaret space, the way that the show has been crafted, we don't necessarily break that fourth wall, as we call it, acting. until the very end. So we're engaging directly, but then we're not. And so the challenge of that is, you know, all of the women we have, aside from being musical theater artists, we're also vocalists, and we have albums, and we're very accustomed to playing spaces where we can directly engage with the audience and kind of win them over. So the challenge with this piece is that we can't really rely on that, and we really have to rely on the story that we're telling and trust that the audience is riding along with us. They're loving it. We can hear them having fun. So it's really an interesting way to play the show, but it's very rewarding at the end when you come out and you hear people say that they loved it and they had a great time.
I mean, it was powerful, and that's one of the best words that I can use to describe it. And what's really funny, because you guys probably, I hope you can't hear it, but people are singing along with you.
We hear the duets, the harmonizing. I mean, we had a wonderful man in the audience last week who literally, we sang The Greatest Love of All, and he literally sang the entire song.
You guys made me cry with that one. I don't know how that happened. And then, like, right after the first act, I think whenever before we went to intermission or took a quick break, the lights came on, and the lady sitting beside me, who I didn't know, she was crying. So there's this thing with music, of course, and you talk about time periods like World War II. There were a lot of things going on during those times, and the music really, for some people, sparks those emotions. And so not only is it that happy place where you're snapping your fingers and jamming, but there's also some emotion that goes along with that as well. You also did this really, I don't want to give away too much for those who haven't seen it, but you do this fabulous thing with Maya Angelou's Phenomenal Woman. That was pretty amazing. So was that your idea to put it to music?
No, I can't take credit for that. That was already done when I was asked to come and musical direct the piece. But the great part about Sirens is, I mean, as a performer, we also connect with the material. Last night, for instance, we were in the middle of doing For Women, the Nina Simone tune, and I lost it because I began connecting on a very deep level. Even though I was performing, I began connecting with the story of these women that were being told. And the show impacts everyone in a very different way. My mother recalls that this was the soundtrack of her life. She related to so many of the songs, and each of these women, you know, represent in some way periods of time and the women that had these experiences and those voices, those narratives, and that's what makes Sirens a really interesting piece of theater because, I mean, you've got a lot of songs, but there are layers, right? So you can come and you can bubblegum your way through it and have a great, great time, and then there's some other moments where you kind of have to take a moment and sit back for a second.
And sometimes you really, it might be the first time that you really listen to the lyrics.
And I was going to say, one of the things, if I could just kind of toot his horn for a second, that he really pushed us to do is not to take these popular songs for granted and to really, you know, use the words to basically reinterpret them as if we are hearing them, singing them for the first time. And he's such a talented musician that through the music, we sometimes take those songs for granted, like The Greatest Love of All, or
even I'm Every Woman,
or
right?
even I'm Every Woman. You know, even just the music or the orchestration or how chords were used or melody was used to tell these stories. You know, The Greatest Love of All is one of the most sung songs ever, but it is just a beautiful composition of music, and you really get to appreciate it on a different level in this show.
Yeah, and for people at home that don't know, of course I do radio full time, and I always get really connected to certain music, and once I connect to an artist and I want to know more of their story and how did we come here. So with The Greatest Love of All, of course I'm from Kentucky, so that song was originally done for Muhammad Ali. That's right. When you really listen to the words and put together what he was was all about at that time really is special.
Sure, there's stories and stories.
Yeah, absolutely. And if people come to the show, they won't necessarily see you, but they might see you because you were kind of like the Wiz, the great, no, not the Wiz, the Great Oz. You were behind that curtain just going away. And I'm like, look at the piano. I saw you because I felt your energy and I could see you moving. And then when I had a chance to meet you and found out you were from Milwaukee, I'm like, oh my gosh, we have to talk.
So excited about you guys being there too.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of like my job to see some of these shows and then let our listeners for radio know what you're missing. So, and now we're bringing that to television. And so I hope all of our viewers definitely take advantage and check out Sirens of Song. Maiehsa, I don't want to let this time go by without finding out a little more about your background.
Sure.
You have a BFA in musical theater.
Yes.
Talk a little bit more about what brought you to where you are.
I actually started as a vocalist, only a singer. My mother, who was fantastic, you know, in the first segment, you guys talked about the importance of being poured into at a young age. My mother was really good at saying, try everything and we'll see what you like. I started as a visual artist. I was in love with that. And then I started to sing around probably 10 or 11 years old, got into choral music, went to a performing arts high school for singing, for voice. And in the 10th grade, I caught the theater bug, and that was it.
That's all she wrote.
That was all she wrote. And so at the very last minute, I never forget my 12th grade year, I was still saying I wanted to be a pediatrician, but I was obsessed with musical theater. My mother goes, okay, are we doing this or are we not doing this? And I said, we're doing this. And so we did everything we could to get, she said, okay, well, you're going to the best. And so we tried for NYU, we got in, and I spent 4 years at Tisch, School of the Arts in theater. I was in the musical theater department, and it was just an amazing experience. And then I spent a few more years in New York, and then I relocated to Atlanta. And that's pretty much the story.
And here she is.
Here I am.
Now, before we run out of time, we've got to give the viewers at home a chance to see a little sneak peek of Sirens of Song. Let's take a look. And there you have it. It is showing at the Milwaukee Repertory Theater through May 29th, and I encourage everybody to log on to MilwaukeeRep.com or call 414-224-9490. Is there anything else that you guys want to add as we wrap up today's show? Why is it important for people to not only come out and see this show, but to continue to support the arts?
Well, I mean, the arts are the foundation of a lot of our humanity. Human beings have been singing and dancing and acting and painting and telling stories from time immemorial. And this is another in that long line of artistic endeavors. And the Rep is right here in Milwaukee. And since we're in Milwaukee, you know, it's important to take advantage of the things that we have here.
Yes. And what do you think, Maiehsa?
Ditto.
What he said. And I just thank you both for coming by
Thanks,
today.
Andrea.
It really is a pleasure and a privilege to talk to you, and I respect what you do, and
Thank you.
I wish you nothing but the best.
Thank
Likewise.
you.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much.
Abdul Hamid Royal is the music director of Sirens of Song, and Maiehsa McQueen is one of the 3 powerhouse women that bring down the house. That is going to do it for today's show. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. As always, I do thank you for watching, and I hope you join us again next week as we take another look at our issues, Milwaukee. Have a great day.